This is a Dancing Stickman production. Content warning. This series contains potentially upsetting themes, including mind control, harm to children and animals, and death. The air smells of brine and sulfur, mixed with the green of the deep woods. You can hear the roar of the ocean, and it sounds like it's coming from all around you. The woods are dark. It's late in the evening, and the sun has just set. And the three of you have arrived with your familiars and with Igern on Pennant's Point, the peninsula of Aelia that curves north and around the Nora Bay, ending in Clawtip, the home of Uneza Seabright, to which you are headed. You are far away from any kind of civilization, deep in the wilderness. You're even far away from Iadir, from Naya's town that is hidden in the Apocti Deep Woods. This is much further out than most humans care to venture, and you have just come from Igern's warm, comfortable cottage to here. As you arrive, Igern lets go of your hands, and she says, "Well, it's late in the day, so we best be setting up camp, and we'll head out at first light tomorrow." And she sets herself to gathering wood for a fire, to finding ground to clear to be able to unroll your bedrolls, and starts working quietly. She has become a bit reserved, having had to abandon her home and worried about her friend, Uneza, who's gone missing.
Before we set up camp, I would probably ask Igern, do you want to set up camp now? Or should we check at least to see if perhaps Uneza is still in her hut?
We've arrived about 20 miles out. We're going to have to travel overland by foot tomorrow. Unfortunately, this is the closest I can get us because this is the nearest place I've traveled to Clawtip that I can teleport to. I can't access the shrine near her house, so we're not going to be able to check in on her until tomorrow.
Do you want me to scout out anything? I'm happy to do that.
Yes, if you'd like to take a look, if perhaps, I don't know how skilled of a hunter you are, but we do have some provisions, but being able to bring anything with us, if you can find maybe a rabbit for us or something like that to eat over the fire tonight.
Absolutely. So Naya's gonna, take off. I'm assuming she still is wearing that frilly little cloak.
Yeah.
She's gonna take off the cloak, grab her provisions, and just start setting out into the forest and hunting.
Igern takes the cloak from you and puts it on herself. She looks to you, Emmett, and she says, how about you, little one? Can you help me gather wood for the fire?
Yeah, I would be happy to.
You said we're about 20 miles out, you said, right?
Yes.
From Uneza's. What do we see around us right now?
Well, unfortunately, the sun is setting, so it's starting to get dark. You actually don't see that much. The woods are pretty thick here. You have arrived in something it's not big enough to be a grove, but it is a clear area between the trees. There's not as much going on. I think you probably startled some small ground animals when you popped in, but it just seems like the wildlife around here is settling in for whatever its evening routine is. The deer have probably just finished eating and are heading back to wherever their den is. Animals are settling in for the night, and the nocturnal animals are starting to come awake.
I'm gonna look around me. Do I kind of know where Naya headed towards?
You could certainly follow her.
Then I'm gonna turn to Igern and Emmett, and I'm gonna say, I'm curious about something. I'm just gonna go follow Naya. I'll be back.
All right. Igern and Emmett set to getting the fire started.
I'm gonna go into the forest and call out to Naya and say, Naya, I'm going to follow you.
Oh, okay. Are you ready to go hunting? What's up?
I just get this feeling, we need more information about Uneza. I mean, I'm worried about Uneza, and I'm sure Igern is.
Absolutely.
You obviously know the terrain a little bit better. Do you think, yes, we can hunt, but can you sort of bring me closer to where Uneza is? We don't have to go all the way there, but maybe just a few miles or so.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, I was also curious about this. I was going to see how far I can get without drawing any suspicion. So, hey, come on with me.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, this is you two setting out. So let me know what it is you're doing. If you're just traveling the woods, give me a nature or survival check.
Sure.
What are you guys trying to do, really? You're not going to get that far tonight.
Yeah, no. So, I mean, 20 miles out, Naya already knows that that is a few hours, but wanting to see if there are any signs where it looks like something, like there are tree branches broken, if something traveled through the woods in a particular pattern, if there's a disturbance.
Yeah, give me a survival check, please.
I'm also going to be helping you in that, so you can roll with advantage.
All right. So 23.
23 is pretty good. Let me actually, I know what I'll do.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
I love DMs so much, but I also hate them so much. Like, for the record, keep that in the recording.
You see the signs of passage of all sorts of different animals. It's enough that it's relatively difficult to distinguish, but you do catch one boot print.
I'm going to definitely get closer to this footprint and kind of compare it to my own foot. Is it larger or smaller?
It's larger.
How large is Yuneza as a person in relationship to Naya?
You said Naya is sort of short but solid.
She's like medium build, medium height, medium build.
Yuneza is tall, and I would say she's pretty built. She lives out in the woods, and she's got a pretty high constitution. She's hardy, taller, hardy, weathered. So size-wise, a little bigger than Naya is.
And what direction is that footprint?
That footprint is going towards Clawtip.
It's going towards Clawtip.
Yes.
Okay.
Nai, did you find something?
Ofelia, look here. There's a footprint. It looks a little bit bigger than my own footprint, and it's headed towards Clawtip.
Do you think it's Yuneza, or do you think it's someone else?
It's unclear right now, but I only see one footprint. I don't see another. It seems like there's a lot of just general animals moving about here, which signals to me that there is some form of disturbance. Because it shouldn't be, I don't know. There's too much chaos.
I'm going to look around and just see that one footprint. We're surrounded by trees.
Yeah, you're in the forest. Your visibility is so limited that you probably can't even see like 20, 30 feet out from you because of how dense the woods are here.
Got it. I'm going to turn to Naya and say, I feel like I can do something. I don't know if I'm going to sound crazy, but I have an affinity towards the things that grow.
Oh, true.
At least that's what it feels like. And me and feelings are not a great pair, but I'm just gonna turn because I feel this pull towards a tree, and I'm just gonna place my hands there. And this is more of a DM's question, but during my time with Liev, did he give any sort of insight into my magic or my capabilities, I guess?
Your interactions with Liev were exactly what happened in that flashback because he contacted Igern immediately to get you out of there.
Got it.
So you have not had a lot of tutelage regarding your affinity towards nature and plants. You're going to have to rely on your own instincts to be able to use that.
Got it. So then thinking about the mint, thinking of mint plants from when I had woken up after the solstice and my background, but like being in this forest makes me feel energized in a way that shouldn't be, especially after this long travel. And I just sort of feel this pull towards a tree, and I just place my hands gently on its trunk, and I'm muttering to myself, this is crazy. Hello? To the tree, and I'm gonna cast Speak with Plants.
You receive an answer. It's not verbal. You feel under your hand the stirring of the sap of the tree as it responds to you, and it almost comes and concentrates around where your hand is and forms a handprint against yours.
I'm slightly scared about that, and I want to remove my hands, but I need to get something done. So I'm going to just whisper, because I kind of don't want Naya to hear me talking to a tree, but at the same time, it feels like this is something I have to do. So I'm just gonna say, my father and I weren't necessarily poets or physicians at heart, but I have always tried to respect what you offer us.
You feel a pulse under your hand.
You are alive, and nature knows more than me and us. Do you have any information for me about who came to this place? You know of the witch Uneza. Do you have any information about her fate, or what has befallen her?
Your awareness spreading into the tree makes you aware of its whole system. The branches above, the roots spreading out co-equally below. And the sense you get is the sap moves in a way where you can feel that there's a concentration of it at the center of the trunk, and then forming around it a layer that entraps it inside.
And I try to touch the sap.
If you reach your awareness into it, the sense you get is that, yes, this tree is familiar with Uneza, and it's trying to communicate to you that Uneza is trapped.
Is she alive?
That concentrated center pulses like a yes.
Okay, well, that's good to know. I'm gonna just say thank you, and I'm gonna step back and awkwardly give it a pat, and then I'm gonna turn around to Naya and say, well, the good news is I think Uneza is very much alive.
Okay.
But I think she's trapped.
And do you know this how?
I think I talked to a tree.
Oh.
The wind rustles through the leaves of the tree, and one of the branches dips down and brushes you right on the back of the neck, Ofelia.
We definitely had some sort of communication.
Huh. Naya stands up, since she was still close to the footprint and inspecting it, turns to Ofelia and just crosses her arms like, oh, so you really are a druid.
What? I mean, are druids witches too?
No, they're not witches per se, but they're magic users, right? But they're like connected to nature, you know? A lot of the druids in my village talk to plants, made things grow out of the blue. So yeah, okay. You can talk to plants. You can talk to any plant.
I mean, I think so, but I mean, it's kind of like with people, you kind of look and say, this one might have more information than the other, because I mean, I look down at the grass. I mean, I don't know what these little guys would be able to tell me, you know?
Huh. So Uneza's trapped.
Yes. I get that impression.
Okay. And this footprint is in the general direction where she came from. Maybe I can also do a weird thing.
Ooh, okay.
And maybe I can you can commune with the trees. Maybe I can conjure some animals.
Oh.
To send them ahead, so maybe we can get some information.
Is that why that crow always follows you?
Oh, Phobos? I love Phobos so much. He's so cool. And then I pull out a little piece of jerky and just kind of hand it to him.
Phobos pecks it out of your hand and does that bird thing where he throws his head back and and swallows it down.
Phobos is my trusty friend, just kind of like that lizard that you have run around. A gecko, a chameleon, I don't know what he is. But, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to conjure some animals. I'm going to send 2 beasts, maybe 2 wolves, to go forth in that general direction and see what they can see and report back to me.
They won't attack us?
No. Last time when I got my magic powers,
You didn't sound very confident.
well, I have to just believe.
Okay, I will point out that you can only hold this for an hour and you are 20 miles away. So are you just wanting them to scope out the lay of the land for you?
Yeah, scope out the lay of the land, see if there's any other commotion that's there.
Okay. Describe what Naya's magic looks like as she is summoning 2 wolves to herself.
So I think she's going to be doing a lot of mimicry of what she's seen other magic users do in her community. It's not necessarily the thing that needs to happen, but she thinks that this is what has to happen. So thinking back to a cleric that has been in her village, she just gets down on her knees and she just says, "Please, wolf, I need your help." And she begins to pray as if she needs to do that. And she asks for 2 wolves to come to her aid because Uneza might need some help.
It's not the words that really feel like are responding to you. It's that connection to a sense of the bestial within yourself. Because when you start thinking about 2 wolves, you start thinking about hunters, but also pack mates. You are calling to members of your pack to search for another, Uneza, who, like you, is Coven of the Claw. And you hear a low growl as 2 wolves stalk out of the darkness towards you and stop in front of you while you're on the ground praying with your hands in front of your face. And they look to you.
Go to Clawtip, look for Uneza. Go.
The wolves dip their heads and they turn around and they start running off into the woods. So you just are going to need to keep holding concentration on that. And I will give you, it's an hour, so they'll come back after half an hour and communicate what they can.
Excellent.
So Emmett, you are helping Igern out with setting up camp. Let me ask you this. How much did you tell Igern? She would have been curious about what your life was like prior to receiving your witchy powers.
Well, I feel like Igern, she's very nice and we're the same coven. And I feel very comfortable with her, but I think Emmett would also be a little bit embarrassed. She's never really been embarrassed before about she does stuff that is illegal, but I think she would be a little bit shy about revealing that. But she probably told Igern about how she's never really had like such a nice home before. In conversation, probably back at Igern's little house, she's talked about, wow, you have such a nice, awesome bed and stuff like that. And probably revealed stuff about how she just doesn't have a very comfortable life and how she has to make do with the stuff that she has on the street.
Can you do me a favor and roll me a deception check?
Okay.
Yeah.
I can do that. Ooh, 22.
Okay. So Igern she's a fairly perceptive woman, and I don't think she's ever pushed you or pressed you about it, but she's noticed the hunger with which you eat your food and the protectiveness you have of your own belongings. And I think that she has just made sure there was an extra little cake for you and stuff like that. So now here, while you are preparing a campsite to sleep at tonight, she is doing her best to teach you what you need to know about how to prepare a proper fire pit so you don't risk burning down the whole forest. So she's had you collecting larger stones to be able to ring the fire while she gathers wood. She comes down and kneels on one knee and puts her hand on your back, and she says, so you need to put the stones in a ring of fire with make it at least 5 feet wide so that you have plenty of space, and clear the ground of any brush or debris or twigs or anything else that could catch fire, and we'll use that for tinder later. You want to make sure that your fire doesn't get big enough so that it can go outside the bounds of the ring. And so she's just sort of teaching you this very basic survival skill set. When you're clearing the ground, she teaches you about how you can reach inside for your magic, and she puts both of her hands up in front of her, and she chants a little bit under her breath in a language that you don't understand, and the grass sort of withers and dries and then brushes to the sides of the ring that you've set up. She says, go on, you try it too.
Do I have to learn that language too?
No, you just have to say words that convey your intention.
Okay. Make fire, please.
Where she prestidigitated the tinder underneath this pyramid of logs that you had built, a small flame just lights up and catches the tinder. And because she showed you how to build a chimney fire with the logs, immediately the updraft created by that heat brings the flames higher, and a nice, warm, comfortable campfire has started. She says, well, I guess if you could just clear a place for you to unpack your bedroll, and we'll just bunker down here for the night. And at this point, this is when Naya and Ofelia come back to the camp.
Ophelia walks in and she gives a nod to Igern and Emmett to say thanks for setting up camp. And as she gets settled, she's going to turn to Igern and say, I have good reason to know that Uneza is alive, so that is good news.
That's excellent news. Can I ask how you know this?
I just asked the trees.
She smiles. Ah, I see. Well, trees are often quite trustworthy, so that is good information.
And that particular tree also told me that Uneza is trapped. I do not know the nature of the entrapment, but perhaps that is why, as you said, it's been difficult to contact her.
She nods and says, yes, if she is alive, I suspect as much, because if we can't contact her, there's something preventing us from being able to do so. My only hope is that if she is trapped, that we are not walking into one ourselves. But if the Shrine of Change is no longer functioning, then we take a terrible risk with the stability of Aelia. So it is our duty as stewards of the web of the loam for us to check in. We'll just have to be terribly cautious as we travel towards her.
Thinking about the guard that we interacted with, I go, do you think that it is the Church of Tyos that has trapped Uneza?
Her face gets dark. Actually, you've never seen an expression like this on her face. She's usually quite cheerful. There's a tinge of sadness to her at all times. But when you say, do you think it could be the Church of Tyos that has done this? She says, I wouldn't put anything past the Church of Tyos, and they do have their reasons to hate witches. So, can't imagine that if one of the last remaining keepers of a shrine has become trapped, that they are uninvolved. But how yet, I don't know.
Why would they hate witches?
Do you all settle in around the campfire?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's settling in for the campfire. I would hope that maybe I brought back a rabbit.
No, I don't think you did. I think you spent your time getting wolves to go scout for you. So I think that what happens is Igern pulls out the dry good provisions that she brought with her, and you guys have some day-old biscuits and a little bit of jerky. She passes a water skin around for everybody to drink from. She says, Naya, you come from Ayadir, yes? That's what Uneza told me.
Yeah, that's my village.
So you come from a town of magical refugees. Do you not know why they flee?
I know that the church seems to hate magic users, but I don't understand why that would be. It's not like the Church of Tyos also doesn't have magic users. It's a strange division.
You're right. They don't hate magic users. They hate magic users who don't work for them. You see, the Church of Tyos believes that there's only one god, Tyos, the god of sovereignty and order. They took the Shrine of Order in Tuvold for themselves. They took it from me in order to build their church, because they believe that the only right way to worship the forces that are beyond ourselves is to worship their chosen God who grants them their power. So any of us who know magic differently and refuse to serve their god are apostate. And witches most of all, because we are the keepers of the web. So Yuneza didn't really explain to you what the web is, the loom.
She explained just a little bit, and that the shrine that we were at is the shrine of change, and that we need to protect it, and that there are other shrines that we should be protecting.
She shakes her head sadly and she says, actually, most of their shrines are gone. Most of their shrines have been destroyed. When they took over in Aelia, in our little valley, they sought out the shrines and erased them as best they could from the earth, thus erasing these points of connection of the spirits that bind the loom together. First, they sought out the witches of my coven, of the Coven of the Heart, because we were within our communities taking care of them. And then they used what knowledge they could gain from those witches to seek out those of your covens. And she points to you, Ofelia and Naya, though you were better protected because you were further out on the fringes. So Ayadir was formed to protect witches first, but just ridding the world of witches didn't satisfy the church. After that, they came after any magic user who would dare oppose them, or who would elevate another god over their own, or who felt that their practice was suitable for them and they didn't need to worship Taios. Then the church came for them and they had to flee too, and now any child who exhibits any sign of magic is either shunted into the church or leaves. That was the cleansing. That's what the church calls it, but my sister and I, we knew it as the devastation, for we lost almost all of us.
Igern,
Yes?
if they don't like witches or any other magic users at all, then how are you still here?
Because their god is the god of order, and I was the keeper of the Shrine of Order, and I know how to tend to it. They took something from me to keep me compliant and shuttered me outside of town and kept me around in case they had any questions that they wanted to ask. I told you that this is not the first time that members of the church have invaded my home, which I'm almost certain they're doing as we speak. But they kept me around because they found me useful, although I can't imagine I'm much more useful to them anymore. They've basically forgotten about me as long as I don't cause too much trouble, and she looks at the three of you. She says, you do understand, the cleansing was 150 years ago. They took the shrine from me.
I was piecing that together, Igern. I was going to ask you how old you were.
Well, you never ask a lady her age.
I mean, I know, but we're all ladies here. Naya just kind of looks over and smiles.
True enough. I'm old, Naya. I'm very old.
I'm 12.
You're very young. You are a very young girl.
You definitely don't look your age.
She preens a little bit. She says, thank you. I have an excellent skincare routine.
Oh, what's that mean?
It means I'm a witch. It means I'm a witch.
Am I gonna be old too? Really old?
You know, it's so strange because none of you had powers before a few months ago, and now you do, and you have more power as young people than I've ever seen, and I've never seen any witch come to power in the ways that you have. I can't imagine. I would hope that perhaps, yes, this does mean that if you are careful, you can live a long life, but I don't know.
I mean, that is something that you have repeated to us before, that we are the first in which our powers were given rather than born unto. what do you think that means? I'm just confused as to why it was me. And Ophelia kind of looks around the other two.
Igern goes quiet for a moment because she's thinking. She says, Yuneza suspected. Yuneza and Liev suspected that the church was up to something. And you received your powers at such an auspicious time, during a solstice, during a solar eclipse. The way that magic works is that it's bound together as a loom. Every force that drives the world that we think of as a spirit, they are all bound together. And I have to imagine that when the eclipse happened, something happened to the loom. And you three, for whatever reason, were part of that effect upon it.
Igern,
Yes,
what did they take from you?
that's a very personal question.
Naya nods and doesn't press the issue.
I'm thinking about the Church of Tyos and everything, and how Yuneza and everyone suspected that they might have been meddling with something. Would I know if the solstice or anything has anything to do with what I have learned at the orphanage or anything? If in their stuff that they're doing, if I paid attention at any point.
You're going to have to give me a history check, but it's a high DC, and you're going to have to do it with a disadvantage, because I don't think when you were at the orphanage, I think you were far more worried about survival than you were about this.
Yeah, but I will check, just in case.
In case there's anything, any little tingle in your mind.
What is that, history?
Go, Emmett, go.
History with disadvantage.
I hope you get nat 20s both times.
I got a 9.
I would say that the most you knew about the church at the orphanage was that they had a very tight relationship. There was always someone from the church there, and a lot of the guards were lent from the church, but you don't know anything about what they were doing.
As Emmett had spoken up, and then I remember Igern mentioning about that kids who showed potential were taken away. Did Ophelia hear about, during the time at the apothecary, about the kids?
There was a general rash of children missing, as well as the hierarch of Tuvold.
I'm gonna piece things together, and then I'm gonna say, Igern, when we were in town, some people were talking about children being missing. Do you think that what had happened during your time in which kids were being taken, do you think that's happening still as well?
I have to imagine it never stopped. I have to imagine that any children who showed a whisper of power were taken into the church. You've seen how prolifically they've spread throughout Aelia. There's no town or city without a church presence in it. You can barely even get into Penance Point without running into a military garrison that's supplied by the church. I have to imagine that's where all of their clerics come from, but it seems to have increased recently, which concerns me greatly.
So there is a change in the sense that there's more children being taken.
You wouldn't know it to talk to parents, but I don't think they're taking children who have parents.
I'm going to turn to Emmett. I guess this is going to be a difficult question, so if it's too much, you definitely don't have to answer, but you're probably the one who knows most about children who don't have parents. Did you kind of see what Igern was talking about?
When I got my powers for the first time, I was at an orphanage. I wasn't in it, but I was at it, and I saw this, I think it was a carriage with a bunch of boxes in it, and somebody I knew who was also there told me that maybe, I think there were kids in the boxes. They weren't like dead or anything, but it was weird. It was really weird because they were all orphans too, and I don't know, they might have been taken somewhere else. The person I was there, who was with me there, told me that they might have been taken to mines, but I don't know. I don't really trust him very much.
Does Ophelia know anything about mines?
Give me a history check. Yeah, I think you could.
Ooh, that was a good roll. 16 plus...
Let's go. Good rolls, good rolls.
22.
Nice. Okay. So what I think that Ofelia would know about mines is that it's a very lucrative business. You live in a town that's full of like fairly wealthy people in Asatus, and the people in your father's circle, like he was pretty distinct because your parents are both physicians, but that led you to have a little bit of prestige. So the crowds that your family moved in included merchants and mine owners and people who traded. And you heard chatter. I don't think you'd know much specific about it, but there's a new mineral that they'd found called adzolite that had been creating a pretty like lucrative business for one of your father's colleagues and acquaintances who was in the mining industry.
But is it a gem?
No, it's not a gem, it's a mineral.
Mineral. And thinking by timeline, does it seem like the popularity of azolite and kind of the recent upsurge of children being taken, do they sort of coincide?
Well, I would say if you understand children to have started being taken within the last year or so from this conversation, then yes, that's about the time that you started hearing people talk about it. But it's not that adzolite's becoming popular broadly, it's just becoming very lucrative to mine it.
Interesting.
I'm going to say this out loud to people. Well, during my time with my father, we had certain clients, patients who were in the mining business, and they were talking about something called azolite. Do you know anything about this, Igern?
Igern does not. She shakes her head. No, I've never heard of it.
What's it for?
Did the people that spoke with my father just talk about how it's a lucrative business?
They were talking about contracts and how much money they were making and stuff like that, and where in the mountain ranges that ring Alia they had found big veins of it.
No, unfortunately, I don't know what they do, but just that it was very lucrative, and I can only imagine where the source of that money comes from.
Why would they feel the need to take children and hide them in boxes when the church seems to control everything, does it not? Why would they need to hide children when they could just order them to do their bidding? Why do we need to hide?
Why did your community feel the need to hide?
Well, I mean, because we're magic users who are worshiping different gods.
If they controlled everything, you'd be dead.
But they control everything in that town, right?
No one controls everything. How was Emmett able to survive without being taken herself if they controlled everything? Everyone has their own will. The church is not all-powerful, and despite what they say about Tyos, they are not all-seeing either. They do not control everything. If they did control everything, they wouldn't have kept me alive to help them with their shrine.
I guess I'm trying to figure out if they have these children in boxes and they're charting them someplace else. Who was the one charting them along, I guess, is the thing that we would want to figure out. Why would they be in boxes if they are not dead, right? So as a part of a funeral, right? If there's someone is trying to hide these children, are they trying to get these children out of the city? You know, these are like questions that I'm confused as to why they would have to do any of this. Are the orphanages ran by the church? Because if they are...
As Naya's saying this, Ophelia is actually going to be looking at Emmett, because I recognize that we're talking about children as commodities, and I'm trying to gauge Emmett's reaction.
Emmett's just kind of like 1,000-yard staring into the fire.
Why don't we do insight versus...
Deception.
Deception, yeah. Because I want to see how well Ofelia can read you.
Naya's just asking questions. She's like, none of this is making sense. Like, what is going on? Why? Let's go, deception.
22.
Damn, okay. The 17 from Ofelia.
Emmett's gone blank, and you can't really read what's going on with her the way Naya was able to read her embarrassment earlier in the day. I would say for Emmett, this is deeply personal, and your need to protect yourself might be rearing up right now.
Yeah, I think Emmett is often maybe fidgeting with her fingers a lot, but right now they're just she's clasping her hands together really tightly in her lap without moving them.
Emmett, what are your thoughts on this?
What?
Well, you were there when, as you said, at the orphanage, seeing the boxes. I mean, what are your thoughts?
The Church of Tyos was there. There were a lot of guards and stuff. There was a room where these kids, there was a weird rock that they were chipping away at, so it might be that mineral you just talked about, but other than all that, I don't know.
While they're quietly having this conversation with each other, Igern's saying to you, Naya, how do you imagine parents and people of good conscience would react if they found out that the church were taking children?
Good parents would raise a fit. Fearful parents would perhaps throw out their children.
I imagine that's true, yes, but I believe I have to hope there are enough good parents left in the world that, should it become common knowledge that the church is exploiting children, that they'd, well, can't say I have high expectations after what happened to my coven, but I have to imagine that the church still feels the need to operate with at least a bit of discretion.
I wonder if they actually know.
They may not.
So all this children putting in boxes stuff, would this not have been happening when I was at the orphanage, like when I was young?
I think kids went missing, like they were there at the orphanage one day and gone the next pretty frequently. What you saw was an operation. The guards that were there that were members of the church were pretty heavily involved with an operation of getting stuff to the orphanage, getting things out of the orphanage. And then you also saw children being forced to work. And that is unusual.
That's weird. So was there anything unique about Sprout that would have, now that I'm thinking about it, would it have any reason as to why Sprout specifically was put in a box?
I don't think I want to even make you roll for this. I think that what you think happens is Sprout just got caught.
Got caught? Just got caught.
Yeah.
And was like, you're going in the box. Okay.
Yeah. You don't know Sprout to be like
unique in any.
Sprout's an okay pickpocket. Bean and Sprout are both pretty good at pickpocketing. But they don't have like any wildly talented abilities that you have noticed so far. They're very good lieutenants for you. But
so they're just innocent children.
There's nothing about them that it's like, this kid, this is the one. Yeah.
The chosen one.
Lieutenant Sprout.
All right, that's good to know.
Everybody roll me a perception check, including Igern.
Yay, I love perception.
As we do this, one clarifying question, Sarah, based on my backstory of pulling out a body from the water, was this the size of someone like Emmett? Was it a child? Was it an adult?
I would say the one that you encountered in the woods near your new settlement was a slight adult. Not like it was slightly an adult, but like it was a skinny adult.
Okay.
And then same thing for the corpse that we saw in the river. It was not an adult.
It was not an adult.
I got an 11.
15.
24.
So the two Coven of the Heart witches are really deep in their feelings. And,
oh my gosh.
Oh my god, really?
Yes. But in the meantime, from behind Naya, and you hear this too, Ofelia, is the growl of a wolf. They've returned.
Oh my gosh.
They scouted as far as they could.
Oh, absolutely.
Ophelia's just gonna hold still, very, very still.
I'm going to immediately, dare I say expeditiously, cast Speak with Animals. And then I will turn to them. It's like, you've returned. What did you all find?
Something moves in the forest. Man. The scent of death on him.
A man? Death? Like Nox? Wait, smell me.
You offer your palm and the wolf puts his nose down and sniffs it like dogs do. He goes,
You do not smell of death.
You mean it in a literal sense. Mayhaps.
Can Emmett put her hand out too?
You can put your hand out, but you can't talk to these wolves. The only person who understands them is Naya. The other wolf who's not talking to Naya sniffs your hand and just gives you a little lick.
Aww. Emmett is a little happier now. Big smile.
As I continue to talk to the wolves, I'd like to believe that I'm sensing a little bit of happiness from Emmett. I'm going to have the other wolf go cuddle up real quick before they get dismissed.
I am scratching this dog's ears.
This wolf has not really ever had human hands touch it like this, and once you start scratching behind its ears, it goes full puppy, gets down on the ground and looks up at you, and
Yep.
What did this man look like? Were you able to see anything?
We saw nothing. We smelled him.
And he smelled of death. Interesting. Do you know what direction he was walking? Was he facing a certain direction?
I don't think a wolf could tell you north, south, east, west, so the wolf says,
He passed through recently. He travels to the witch.
He travels to the witch. Ah, okay.
and the wolf looks at Igern and back at you and says,
The other witch.
Yuneza. I relay all this information to my party members.
I think as you're relaying it, this is when the spell drops and the two wolves, they don't become aggressive or anything like that, but they remember that you're not part of their pack and they decide to leave the fire. I think though that they do stay pretty close just in case you guys drop any food.
I thank them for their service, and I would like to, if I have a little bit of jerky left, just give them a little bit of.
Oh yeah, they'll take it. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Just, and then a little extra scratch.
The wolf that you've been scratching, Emmett, gives you a little lick on the cheek before it heads out, and it's got the hottest, stinkiest breath.
Bye, John.
John, it's named John now. Igern, I think she was a little surprised at the appearance of wolves, but I think she recognizes what you're doing, Naya, and she gives you a respectful distance to practice your craft, which is this bond with animals that you have as a Coven of the Claw Witch.
Aww.
When they depart, though, she says, if you prepared anything to give to each other, I know that we've been moving quite fast, but as I said, tokens help you protect each other, so if you have any work to do on the tokens, on the materials you bought for the tokens to give them to each other, now would be the time to do it. So you spend the next hour putting your spells into these tokens and then have the chance to exchange them with each other. And I want to know what you guys are giving each other.
Ophelia is quite deft with the needle, and so the first thing that she makes with her flowers and some bits of lace is drawing on my Korean influence. It's kind of looking like a norige, which is like a type of ornament that you usually wear on your person. It's like decorative purposes.
Mm-hmm.
But I think as I was sewing it and I'm thinking about the colors of Naya, there's red, like a dark burgundy red that I think about, and a little bit of green and blue and a little bit of gold in there. But I see her as capable, I see her as reliable, I see her as strong, and also free. I think there's a free aspect of Naya that I think I deeply respect. And, you know, she's always been a little bit more on the background as a scout, but she's not afraid to be forward. And I think the spell that I imbue within the token is this idea of, I hope when the time comes, Naya can protect herself and the ones she loves with all of her abilities, and I imbue the spell Enlarge and Reduce for her. But it's just like this cute little norige for you to wear on your person.
Yes.
And then for Emmett, there's a lot of parallels I think I see with Emmett in terms of Ofelia. Like, she looks at her and she respects Emmett too, because both of us, we lost a lot of stuff along the way. And looking at how capable Emmett is as well, I'm reminded of how my parents always used to treat me as an adult. And at that time, I had always thought that that was something good. But now I kind of see Emmett, and looking at her, I realize I wish that there was still a childlike innocence that you could enjoy. And I think a sense of protectiveness comes over Ofelia, and as she's making a hat for Emmett to kind of cover her, she imbues the hat with cleansing crystal.
Ooh.
Which is, in case any harm comes to her, the crystal can absorb that harm for her.
Cool. Love that.
But the hat that Ophelia makes is like those newspaper boy hats.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a little blue ribbon on the side for
Yes,
her.
that's perfect. You know me.
I love. Yes.
I have some tokens.
Oh, amazing.
Well, the first one is for Ophelia, and it's pretty cool. I hope it's a spell that you don't already have access to easily. But I was just thinking about it, like, you're all about plants and stuff. And I've never really cared that much about plants, but I do see a lot of spiders in my life. So I made a little token. It's the ring that I sweeped off that lady, and I imbued it with spider climb.
Ooh.
And it'll make it so you can climb up walls really cool.
Very cool. Thank you.
I hope you like it.
It's a pretty fancy ring, Ofelia.
It's very ornate.
Yeah, actually, Ophelia looks at it and she's happy. It's a good one.
It's got little swirly patterns on it, like almost like vines.
Ooh.
And then for Naya, there was a whole ordeal in the city. Well, we're gonna forget about that.
Absolutely. Already forgotten.
Didn't happen.
What are we even talking about at all?
I don't know. Hopefully it wasn't all for naught, because the cloak that I snatched off of that random person, I'm going to make it so that when you wear it, you won't be seen. It is a cloak of invisibility. And it's like dark. It's got red accents on the edges of it, and maybe a little bit on the inside. So it's not the most frilly, silky cloak, but it's nice and thick enough to where, like, you can actually wrap it all around yourself. There's no lace on it.
Ophelia's gonna be like, thank God.
Naya gives Ophelia a side eye and just is very excited about this.
Yeah, it's nice and warm and hardy. It'll probably last you some amount of time.
Naya immediately wraps her body around it. She probably takes you inside and wraps you around with it too.
Yeah.
And then give you a big hug.
Emmett's giggling a lot.
So for Naya, she's crafty, but she's not as crafty as, let's say, really delicate with the needle like Ophelia is, but enough to be able to mend garments back together. And so with some scraps of leather that she managed to pull, she has made Emmett small pairs of gloves, fingerless gloves that she can wear. And on it, she has imbued Alter Self. Because you never know what Emmett might get into, but Naya wants her to be able to, at any means, because she knows that she's crafty, she knows that she's fast, to be able to, at any moment, alter herself and be able to get out of a situation just in case Ophelia and I lose sight of her.
Oh, cool. I love that.
And then for Ophelia, just remembering the conversations that we had about lace and fashion and equating with animals. In the apothecary, she bought a wolf's tooth.
Oh.
She's kind of scratched little different kind of runes and inscriptions and things that she has seen the druids in her community have. And she's attached a leather, I guess it's like a necklace at this point, with a wolf tooth on it.
Ooh.
And because Ophelia can speak to trees, she thought, well, what if Ophelia can also speak with animals so that she can then truly live in her best druid life?
I love that it's canon that Naya just thinks that Ophelia is a druid.
yes, absolutely. Right. So it's like, I don't really think that she's a witch at all. I think you're a druid. But like,
it's caught up in this.
Yeah, it's like, it's totally fine. Like, whatever.
I love that. Thank you.
We have many miles to travel tomorrow, girls. It'll take us most of the day to get to Claw Tip, so it's best that we get what rest we can. So I think it's time that we tuck in. But I will keep first watch. Naya, Ophelia, can I ask you to also keep watch this evening?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Igern's going to take first watch. She's going to have Naya take second watch in the dead of night, and then Ophelia in the morning. So the three of you unroll your bedrolls, bed down, As you all are falling asleep and Igern is keeping watch, she's standing to keep herself awake, and she slowly and as quietly as she can is just circling the area where you are, and you hear her singing to herself. To farthest reach, to hearth and home, to wild and woodland green, throughout the loom the doom has come, to claim what once had been. The ties that bind the cup once shared, rent from creation's space. The space was made, the price was paid, for one to take their place. In darkest night, in places still, I hear my sisters weep. Though I cannot be with them now, I'll join them when I sleep. That was Annette Lee as Ofelia, Ashlyn Sparrow as Naya, and Tegan Mack as Emmett. Sara Brink was the game master. Story editing and sound design by Sara Brink. Oops All Witches is a playtest of the Witch class created for The Wizard, the Witch, and the Wild One, produced by Fortunate Horse. For more information, visit the Worlds Beyond Number Patreon. Oops All Witches is a Dancing Stickman production. If you're enjoying the podcast and you'd like to hear more nerdy content like this, please consider giving us a like and a subscribe. And be sure to tell your friends. Thanks for listening.